Hey, folks, what's going on? Good morning. All right, listen, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right off the bat. Vitali's out this week, so you're just stuck with one Tim. Now, the good news is you're stuck with the handsome one. But in full disclosure, I don't think that always guarantees great content. I mean, just look at Glenn Powell, guys. And don't throw Maverick at me because Bob completely carried that movie. I think we can all guarantee or agree on that one. But hey, listen, if this goes sideways, I'm the only one to blame. So don't send me any comments about how bad it was. So it's a little risky, but we're going to roll with it. And the good news is that Vitali's back next week. So, wish him well. He's off and having a little R&R with the family, well deserved. Hope he is enjoying it. And he's actually down in one of my favorite spots. Hope he comes back with good things to say. Anyway, so guys, listen. Today I want to talk about a little something different. Hang on one second, Dennis. I am getting a error here. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Dennis, now I can see what you're saying. So I thought that was important. But hey, man, good morning. Glad you showed up, and good to see you. Hope I got something good for you. But listen, today I want to talk about something a little different. Instead of talking about market deals or what's working right now, what's working, what's not working right now, and going into all the issues that are kind of flying around in the current environment. I wanted to talk a little bit about my real estate journey. I think Vitali actually did this a few weeks ago, a couple months ago. I think when I was out one time, looked like it was appreciated. So thought I'd talk a little bit about mine as well, since it's just me. And hey, nobody knows it like I do. And hopefully somebody will get something valuable out of this. I don't think it's anything special, to be quite frank with you, but I think every phase of it taught me a little something that I still use today. In fact, I know I still use a lot of these lessons today. And if you're trying to get it into real estate or grow with it, I think there's some little nuggets here that could be helpful for you, especially, the things that I went through back in, the, what they call it, like the Great Recession and the market crash in 08 and 09. There's a few of us with some scars from that, and I'm certainly one of them. Because listen, guys, like the version of me today didn't start here. Not that there's anything amazing about that, but I don't think people see. I think when people notice or people take notice of somebody doing a deal or operating and stuff like that, a lot of times it's congrats, and there's these comments of like, man, they just came out of nowhere. Well, no. I didn't, Vitali didn't, none of these guys did. There's a foundation that took quite a while to build. And I'm certainly no exception to that rule for sure. Not even close. So guys, I'm in multifamily today. I don't know if you guys know this. I didn't start here. I actually started in 2006 doing land deals. And I didn't start with big deals. We were starting with tracts of land that we were buying at the South Carolina coast and the North Carolina mountains. Both big retirement spots, still are today. And we were buying like literally raw land. And let me give you a little background on that. The way that was working is because it'll help with this next part. We were going in and negotiating tracts of land with landowners and essentially saying, things like, hey, I'm going to cover your taxes for the next year or two while I work through some entitlements and zoning and all this other stuff with the town and the county. And then once we got through it, if we got what we were looking for, we could then sell it off to a developer who basically wants land already entitled. They don't want to go through that whole process. And we were partnering with like a few developers, 3 to be specific, and we kind of knew what they would pay per entitled lot. And if you guys don't know what that means a lot that's entitled to or something to be built on it or something to be done with it. And it made it really easy to work backwards into what I would offer somebody. And I got to be honest, guys, like walking into it, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know this was a thing. I had always had this little thing in my head, from years before when I graduated college, when one of the partners at the law firm that I was a runner at, worked my way through college, told me when I graduated, is he was like, "Hey man, one piece of advice: buy as much real estate as possible." 23-year-old me was like, "Whatever, dude. I'm going out and making 34,000 a year. I'm set. I got this, and I don't need your advice." Which, looking back at it, I'm like, "Man, I'm such an idiot." But anyway, so I kind of had that in the back of my head. At this point, I've got 8 years in the corporate world. That 34,000, now I was making quite a bit more than that at this point in time, but that salary didn't go as far as I wanted it to go, and it certainly wasn't putting me on a path to go where I wanted to be. And I'm sitting at lunch one day with some guys that I work with, and this guy starts talking about this real estate stuff he's doing. And he's talking about some apartments that he owns over here, but he's doing these land flips. And it didn't really require a lot of cash up front to do them. So I was like, I like that. Let's talk about that. So I started picking his brain. He actually introduced me to a couple of guys, and I started to go down that path. So that's how I got into the land flip stuff. I definitely wasn't an expert. I was just some guy, little unhappy with the corporate world. I'd always had an entrepreneur gene in me, and I knew I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing. So I was just trying to figure out how to get into the real estate game at that point. Um, Also, the barrier to entry was lower. Deals were simpler in the land flip state place. So it really gave me a way to start taking action without a ton of cash out of my own pocket. And that's really what those deals were about. I didn't really look at them as a way to get rich. I looked at them about learning, getting in the game, um, and building confidence, getting in my reps, and then, quite frankly, building a little bit of a bankroll that would allow me to start doing other things. Because the one thing I knew about real estate was I wanted cash flow, right? I didn't want chunks of money that came at different times, maybe go a year without a chunk. I wanted some steady cash flow because I knew that's how I was going to get out of the corporate world. And to be honest, guys, I really started to build some momentum. I mean, I did one, made a little money, did another, made some money, did another one with some partners. At this point, I got in with a couple of partners. We decided to pull our resources and go together, and so we could do like 100-acre property. We did. It went great, and things were happening. The deals were working. It started to feel like I had this all figured out, and then all of a sudden, something happened that I'd never seen before. Most of the people in the world had never seen before. 2008 came along. I was actually working at a bank at the time. One of the banks I was working at was one of the big reasons what happened in the market happened. Um, and, I mean, they weren't the only one, but they were a big part of it. And I got to be honest, man, market humbled me pretty damn quick. 2008 hit, and then 2009, and everything changed. I mean, guys, when the market didn't just slow down, like right now today, the market is slow. In 08 and 09, it didn't slow down, it fell apart. Things just stopped. Uh, Deals that made sense one day did not make sense the next day. Values dropped, liquidity disappeared. And I'm going to be completely transparent with you. If I had done that first part that I told you guys about how the land deals worked, I'd have been fine, because in that world, I wasn't taking debt. I was locking up deals with a commitment to pay once I got through some things. And once I got through those things, I would close. And the way those would work is we'd walk into the lawyer's office. Typically, we'd walk into the lawyer's office, we'd close on the land deal, and then we'd sell it to the developer. Sitting in the office, all within a couple of hours, it would transact twice. And I never actually came out of pocket any money at the closing. Now, there was money to get to the entitlement phase and plans and things like that, but it wasn't substantial in the overall scheme of things. But at the end of the day, that's how it worked. Well, here's the problem. I didn't stop there. What we did was, at one point, one of the developers came to us and was like, "Hey, this is great. We got this piece of land, but hey, you guys can make a lot more money." And we were like, I'm interested. Tell me about that. So what he said was, we need money as developers to put the infrastructure in, roads, sewer, all the drainage, all that good stuff, right? Curbing, you name it, all the things that they have to do to prep the land to get ready to build. And they wanted to basically raise that money from us. And the way they would do that is, like, let's use 100 acres, for example. They'd sell it, they'd buy the 100 acres, we'd get some money, they'd sell us 10 of those acres back. They had a deal with a bank, and that bank would loan us basically 90% of what we were buying it back for. So let's just say that the developer was selling it back to us for, or we were buying it back from the developer for 500,000. The bank would give us 450. We put down 50,000, and the developer would go do their thing and get 500 grand from us. Well, then the developer would come back and agree to buy it back from us after they had done their thing. They have improved land with infrastructure. It's worth more. So they'd buy it back from us for 625 within like a year to 18 months. And if they didn't, we had the opportunity to sell that 10-acre tract ourselves. So that was going really well. We were making money and making more money. We were making good money. But the problem with that is we ended up with loans that were high LTV on land that, quite frankly, looking back at it, was being overvalued at the time that we took the loans, right? So if I had stopped at the first step, I'd have been fine. But getting land and selling it off to developers, I'd been okay. But I decided to go into another phase, which is to buy back the smaller portions from the developer at a higher price, raise funds for their infrastructure, and they would sell it back to me, and we'd use leverage. Some of that. And then the problem is that, at the end of the day, those land values plummeted in 08 and 09, and the lenders weren't interested in staying in. They came back to us and said, hey guys, these aren't worth what you owe. We don't care that you're paying your mortgage. We don't care that you're current and that you say you can keep paying. We want our money back right now. And so they started calling things due. Hey, it is what it is, right? So leverage crushed us. High leverage really crushed us. And all the things that looked good on paper before stopped working in real life. And for me, guys, that wasn't just a small step back. It was a huge step back. And I pretty much lost everything that I had spent the last 4 years building. And that's not something you bounce back from overnight. It took years. It took years of digging out of that hole, years of rebuilding, years of figuring out what I did wrong. But I will tell you this, that experience reframed how I thought. Just like I'm telling you, I learned a lesson. It taught me something, because you realize pretty quickly leverage cuts both ways. Those same banks that were chomping at the bit to loan us money on these deals and even offered way over what we even were asking for were telling us they wanted their money back. And I started to learn that when the markets change faster than people expect, leverage is not your friend in those situations, especially on deals like this that don't produce, what did I say before, cash flow, right? And a lot of people are seeing that today, right? They overpaid, they over levered in 22 and 23 when they were buying things, and those loans are coming due today. Those bridge loans are coming due today. Even those stabilized loans are coming due today. And they can't get 80, 85, 90% LTV. They're getting 60, right? And the interest rates are higher, and those DSCRs, the debt service coverage ratios, are crushing them. So even if they do cash flow, they're not cash flowing enough. But at the end of the day, remember, what works in a good market can absolutely destroy you in a bad one. And that is something I learned really, really the hard way back in 08 and 09. I got to pause there because I just remembered something. I remember somebody back then being like, man, you guys are crushing it. You guys are geniuses. And somebody actually said this to me yesterday. They were like, man, anybody can look smart when things are going up, but the real experience starts to show when things are going down. And that is so true. So absolutely true. And that period of time taught me that. Real experience comes from surviving when things go down. And honestly, for a while, survival was the goal. not growth, not scaling, just staying in the game. And honestly, right now, Vitaly and I have a lot of those conversations. It's like, hey, man, we need to protect what we got. We need to protect our investors. We need to do what we got to do to stay in the game. Because the other thing that experience taught me was time heals, right? Because a lot of people who made it through that time, who were in the same position I am, but they were able to keep the land, they were able to make it through it. They were able to just build that runway to 2011 and 2012. They're crushing it today. They're doing great. A lot of those guys are retired, to be honest. A lot of the guys that were in the same boat I was, but were able to build that runway, they're one of them has a jet. I gotta be honest with you. So there's a big difference between making money and keeping money, I guess is what I'm saying. And I learned that the hard way. So how did I get out of it? And how did I end up here? So around 2010, 2011, I'm starting to dig out and I'm like, I want to get back in, right? I've kind of repaired the damage. I'm starting to put a little money in the bank. Job's doing fine. I want to get back in. So the good news is that experience didn't take me out of real estate and it didn't make me quit. And I think that's one of the big keys for me is just don't quit, guys. Like I see so many people throwing their hands up in the airs and being like, this is hard. I can't do it. But I promise you, the guys who don't quit, the guys who ride it out, the guys who get creative and figure out ways to build that runway that I talked about, they're going to be good. They're going to be good 2, 3, 4 years from now. 10 years from now, they're going to look like damn geniuses. I promise you. But that experience changed how I approach everything. I came back a lot more cautious. I'm not going to say I don't still make missteps. I do. But I did come back a lot more cautious. When I see 80, 85% LTV, I get real squeamish. When I see adjustable rate mortgages, when I see rates that aren't fixed, I don't like them. I got a couple of loan brokers that if they were sitting here right now, when they come to me and they go, it's not a fixed rate, I go, nope, not doing it. So it changed how I look at things like that. I'm more disciplined. I'm less focused on quick wins. I'm more focused on doing things the right way. Tim and I talk about that a lot. But because I'd already seen what happens when you don't. And quite frankly, I had done some things the wrong way. You know, I took on more than I could chew, and it bit me, right? So I moved into fix and flips. And I always tell people, like, those days are easy, man. You could just drive around your neighborhood, look for high grass, and that was a foreclosure. You could probably get that house. So fix and flips were a lot easier. Moved into that space. I also had a little bit of a background, guys. Like I had grown up like building things with my dad, doing summer projects with my dad. I knew how to use a hammer. I knew how to cut. I knew how to like make cuts and things like that. So it kind of fit naturally into what I like to do, what I could do. So I started to move into those a little bit, build a little portfolio of those things. But, you know, those things start to teach you too, you know, hey, you open up a wall, surprise, you never know what's back there, right? All of a sudden there's aluminum wiring. There's, I don't know, some sort of like galvanized pipe that hasn't been touched in 40 years, you know? And the other thing that kind of taught me was, tell me if you're surprised by this one. Like the biggest thing for me is budgets get blown. And one of the biggest reasons why is because contractors don't show up, right? Timelines stretch out. And when you got a hard money loan on something that's, you know, clipping a note at 12, 15%, timelines don't stretch easily. So now you're not just analyzing deals, you're operating them at that point, right? So fix and flips, I'm starting to operate something. I'm not just going after entitlements. I'm actually operating a physical asset that has financials behind it, really. And that's a completely different skill set. And this is where I started to learn that execution matters more than just like spreadsheets and underwriting, you know, and I've been talking about that this week, like how bad operators kill good deals and how bad deals can be home runs because of a good operator. And, you know, some of that taught me those things. And it's also what taught me how fast that margins can disappear. You know, I always chuckle like when you see those shows and they're, you know, Christina and whoever, Turk and Christina are out there, and you know they start with a $200,000 budget and they end up at 450,000, yet they still make $500,000. You know, I'm like, yeah, whatever, not likely, right? So anyway, At this point, I really wasn't chasing wins anymore. I was really trying to avoid mistakes. I was trying to get better. I was trying to be more efficient, more disciplined because I paid that price before. Um, so right around 2019, I started to realize scale was my friend, right? And that I was not going to be able to scale the way I wanted to. I was doing okay. I was doing well, created a little bit of freedom for myself and my family, but I wanted to be able to scale. So I shifted into multifamily because I, I didn't move over there because it was easier. Believe me, it's not. I moved over because it's scalable, right? And one thing I will say to folks is sometimes I think multifamily is harder than just like fix and flips and stuff because fix and flips, the one variable that I didn't have to deal with in that world was it was just me, right? You don't have to deal with, sorry, Tim, you don't have to deal with partners and stuff. And don't get me wrong, guys. Like I don't, I wouldn't ask for another partner. Vitali's been great. He is great. Um, and luckily we do play off each other pretty well, but partnerships can be tough, right? Operating multifamily deals with partners can be tough. Operating multifamily deals by themselves can be tough. Like one thing I always tell folks is, hey, one of the downsides, one of the upsides to multifamily deals is you make 10,000 per door. And if you have more doors, you make more money. But here's the other problem. If you make a mistake, you also make that mistake times that many doors. That can happen too. The upside can scale, the downsides can scale as well. Speaking of scale, this is exactly why I moved into multifamily. I moved in there because it was scalable and flipping, quite frankly, is transactional. I call it kill and eat, right? You do a flip, you get to eat, right? Multifamily, you can do some of that, right? You see a lot of people doing flips on multifamily as well, but it also creates cash flow, right? Yeah. So, I went into multifamily because I wanted to build something that lasts, something that I could do with a partner, something that I could hand off as a legacy if I really wanted to. But this is when I really started to think about teams, operations, and systems, because that's how you make long-term value. When I mentioned I was making 34,000 a year, my first job out of college is I was a process engineer in a manufacturing plant. I've always had a little bit of an eye for how systems and processes go together. I've always been pretty good at like figuring out little tweaks to make something a little better, identifying problems, and maybe coming up with some ideas of how to make those problems not problems anymore. And so that piece kind of appealed to me a little bit here with the multifamily, as well as I'm able to leverage all the other things that I've learned over the last 13 years at that point. So I really saw it as an opportunity to scale, to really put some things I'd learned to work here. But here's the thing: the deals are bigger. Like I said before, the problems are also bigger and the stakes are higher, but so are the opportunities. And one of the biggest things I took from my earlier experiences, especially from 2008, was that I wanted to be in something that could survive cycles, not just benefit from good ones. The land flips really benefited from good markets when developers were hungry, right? The fix and flip did fine. I think people will tell you right now they're struggling a little bit. And unless you're going to rent them, they don't cash flow. So I wanted something that could benefit from both, from good markets and survive bad ones. And multifamily done right, and that's the key, done right really gives you that opportunity. But it also forces you to level up. You can't do it alone, which is why I said partnerships are key. Execution matters even more. I think we're seeing that a lot today, guys. And as in everything, discipline matters. It always matters. So at the end of the day, the truth is, guys, this really wasn't about properties. For me, it was not about the deals. It wasn't about any particular one asset. It was about what it created. I mentioned before that I wasn't happy in the corporate world. For me, real estate was a way to create options, to make the corporate world not something I had to deal with anymore if I didn't want to. It created the ability to step away from the corporate world, which I did full stop in 2022. And I think that's a key, guys. I started in 06. I stepped away from the corporate world 16 years later. And doing that helped me build those reps, helped me do it and even survive a downturn where I was able to build back. And then move forward with opportunities and options in front of me. It created time for me. MultiFamily did. It created flexibility. It created the freedom to actually design my life the way I want to. And the truth is, it means more the second time around. I've been there. I had some success, lost it. It means more this time, and I value it more. Like, I see what's coming in. Tim and I have conversations, and days are hard, right? I mean, we got a team of like 30 people that work for us. Managing people's hard, managing a company's hard, managing multifamily is hard, but I wouldn't trade it for the world because I appreciate it differently than I would have if 2008 and 9 didn't happen. I appreciate it different. I protect it different. I approach it different. Honestly, guys, real estate didn't just change my income. It changed how I spend my time, who I spend it with. And that's the part that I don't think people talk about. So listen, I know we're getting towards the end of the show. I think I've probably been rambling on a little fast here. So if I need to slow down, put it in the comments and tell me, and I'll remember that next time. So listen, if you're listening and you were here at the beginning, don't worry about where I am now. Focus on your first deal, then your second, then your third. Because the truth is, that's the path, right? You're going to make mistakes. It's not a straight line. It can be extremely jagged, and you're going to have setbacks. That's just part of it. The key is stay in the game long term, long enough to learn from it, long enough to, make a mistake and bounce back from it. I promise you it's worth it. It's been extremely worth it for me. And if you ever want to talk about it, like I tell people all the time, man, I'm here. Let's chat. Or just reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And Dennis, I appreciate you being here. And I totally agree with you. That's where the BHAG comes from. All right, guys, I rambled on for a while. I think I said a lot. And the good news is that Vitaly is back next week. So you don't just have to listen to me talk for 25 minutes. All right. Okay, guys, have a great week. If you need anything, Vitaly and I are always here, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Later.